Hi, I'm Karen Weingard and I'm coming to you from Club Scrap. I have a really cool project for you called an ATC Wallet. It's from our 2016 retreat project. It not only holds ATCs, but it can hold other fun things too. Let's get started. All right, this is the wallet we will be making. It has a unique closure, this cute little elastic closure that wraps around a button. And when you open it up, it has a wallet insert inside to hold all your ATCs, so it gives you a great place to display those. The first piece you'll locate is your outside cover wrap. You want to lay it down on the table, printed side down, and we're going to draw some pencil guidelines using the grid ruler and a pencil. You want to measure 3/4 of an inch up from the long side, one long side, and 3/4 of an inch in from one short side. Now I'll turn this so it's facing you so you can see how this works. First, grab one of your larger cover pieces. I'm going to kind of dry fit everything before we get started, just so I know where everything's going to be placed. So starting where the lines intersect, place your large front cover or one of your large covers into that intersection along the guidelines created. Grab one of the long, narrow spine pieces and you'll place this next to it, but you want to leave about an 1/8 inch gap in between the spine piece and the cover piece. Next, you'll grab the second cover, and again, just making sure you're using that pencil guideline to keep everything straight and level. You'll add the second large cover. Next comes another long, narrow spine piece. However, with the nature of how this book closes up, you want to leave a little bit wider gap this time than you do with the two previous channels here. So you need this channel here to be a little bit wider than the first two. And finally, your flap with about an 1/8 inch gutter. So you can see I've got similar gutters here, here, and here, and a little bit wider between that second cover and that second spine. Once you have everything laid out, you can go ahead and glue them into place. So I'm just spreading a nice thin, even layer of the bookbinding glue, making sure I get all the way out to the corners and edges. And then I'm just going to place them right back down using those pencil guidelines to keep everything straight. You don't need a ton of glue, just enough for full coverage. And everything just gets glued right back down where you had everything laying here. You'll notice I'm holding the book board or mat board up off of the work surface as I spread the glue. That way I don't get it anywhere I don't want it to be. Now remember, this second spine needs to have a wider channel than those first two channels, so make sure that you're doing that when you glue everything back down. All right, you can burnish those into place. And the next step is going to be to miter the corners. So using a scissors, you're going to cut each corner at a 45-degree angle. However, when you're wrapping the board around the corner, you want to be sure and leave enough space between where you cut and the edge of the mat board. So you can see there's just a little bit, maybe the width of the scissors here on each corner. So cut off all 4 corners at that 45-degree angle. Next, I like to pre-wrap the flaps, kind of train the paper to go where you want it to go. So just one at a time, take each of those flaps, folding it over, we aren't using the glue yet, and just burnish those creases. This will help make everything a lot easier to do when you get to the gluing part. Once all the flaps are pre-trained, you can go ahead and start the gluing process. I like to start with the longer edges just because they take a little bit more negotiating, shall we say, to get straight. So just add, you probably have enough glue still in your brush, so just add the glue to that flap. And you can see where pre-wrapping those really makes a difference, really makes that easy for you. And again, hold your piece up off your work surface so you don't get glue anywhere it shouldn't be. So now you can see I have my 2 long flaps wrapped and glued. At the corners, we want to have a nice mitered corner, a nice wrap. You don't want any edges of paper sticking out. So I just take the tip of my bone folder and just tuck those corners in before gluing and wrapping those short flaps. You can see by doing that little step, you get a really beautiful corner with no edges sticking out. Normally the next step would be to glue on the inside cover, but before we do that, we want to add our button. So you want to locate the flap piece. Remember, the two covers are the same size, the two spines are the same size, so the flap is what you want to be working with at this point. So place your flap onto a piece of cork or other tool that you can use for piercing, and then take your grid ruler and a piercing tool. Use your grid ruler. You want to center the button. So you can use the 0 center on your ruler to center that button left to right, top to bottom. Once you have it in place, just pierce right through the 2 holes in the button. Once you do that, you'll see that your holes have transferred to the front, and we'll use those to attach the button to the project. You should have a small piece of waxed linen thread. So from the inside of the project to the outside, thread the thread through, and then add that button right on top of that. So in the hole of the button, then back from the outside to match the hole on the inside. Once you have your button threaded, you'll just tie that on the inside of the project. A double knot is fine, nothing fancy. And you can trim away some of the excess thread. The next step is to grab the inside cover, which is this beautiful parchment paper. We're going to spread glue on the entire surface, and then we're going to glue it into place. You want to start and centering it left to right across, and then you'll actually take your bone folder or the tip of your finger to work those into place once you've got the glue down. So if you want to just dry fit it and kind of eyeball it, you'll know exactly where it'll get placed. So this is where it's important to hold your paper up off the surface again of your work surface to spread that glue all the way out into the corners. If it gets a little unruly and you don't want to hold it up like I am, you can always grab a piece of scratch paper and then feather the glue out to the edges. So just align the edges. It should be equal from top to bottom, leaving about anywhere between 1/8 and 1/4 inch along one of the short sides, and then just slowly start to work it across, making sure before I glue anything else down on the other side that I'm kind of working those gaps or those little alleys here. So then just burnish that inside cover down, again, paying special attention to where those gutters are so that the entire project can fold up like so. So while that's drying, go ahead and set that aside. And you should have 2 pieces of gray that are the same size. These are going to be the inside pockets of our project. So again, with our ruler and the tip of a bone folder, we're going to score a 1-inch guideline or a 1-inch score line. So 1 inch up from one long side and 1 inch in from the left and right short sides. And you'll repeat that for both pockets. Once your pockets are fully scored, it's time to cut away a little bit of the excess so that when we wrap this to create the pocket, you don't have a lot of extra bulk at the corners. So you'll want to refer to the diagram on page 2, at the top of page 2 in your printed instructions in case you're having trouble kind of seeing what I'm doing here. So starting with your long side, you're just going to cut at an angle, and again, I'm doing this upside down from you. You don't need a big angle, just a slight angle from the outside edge, and I'm stopping at the corner. Then on the short sides, I want to do the same thing, just taking from the outside edge a slight angle to cut out that corner. So again, I'm stopping where those 2 score lines intersect. And you can repeat that for both pockets. In the diagram, it also shows to cut off a slight angle near that top edge. It's not 100%. necessary. However, it does kind of eliminate some of that bulk. It'll make feeding the inside wallet unit a lot easier, and it won't catch on the edges as easy. Okay, once you have your flaps all prepared, it's time to glue. So what you'll do is you'll fold along those score lines. Remember, the bump goes to the inside, and this will create your pocket. Now you can see my long flap is folded up, and then I have my 2 flaps on the outer edges. I'm only going to add adhesive just at the corners where the short flaps overlap that long flap. You can use a tape runner, you can use bookbinding glue. Since I have bookbinding glue handy, that is what I'm going to use. And repeat for the second pocket. So you'll place glue on the flaps, just on the outside flaps, so the pocket obviously still opens. And the first pocket will be aligned with your large inside cover. I guess this would be your left. So once you have the glue in place, you're going to place it so it has equal amount of exposure on the long side, or the short sides and the long side, and then you'll want to burnish that into place. So again, just add adhesive only to the flaps. It's really important here that you get to those outside edges so that the pocket stays secure and the corners don't lift up. And again, we're just going to place this to this outer left edge and burnish well with a bone folding tool. The second pocket also goes on the second large cover. This time you want to place it so that it's against the cover, but it does not go past the gutter that you created here. So adding the glue to those, just the flapped edges, and this pocket will be placed so that both pockets open to the center of the project. It's really important that that happens. So the folded edge of your pocket should align with that other large cover piece. So again, folded edge against the edge of that cover with the pocket opening towards the center. I'm not going past my gutter, and burnish with your bone folding tool. While your pockets are drying, you can start to begin to work on the elastic closure for your ATC wallet. So you should have a piece of elastic. Take the 2 ends that are open, and we'll just tie those together near the edge. So there's no perfect way to do this, just a double or a single knot here. So just tie those 2 ends together. You don't have to leave a lot at the end. So that now creates this loop, okay? Next, you want to create a second knot. This time it's at the looped edge. This knot should be approximately 1 inch from that loop. So you can see I have 2 knots, one near the open edges of the loop, and one approximately 1 inch from the looped side. Hopefully that makes sense. And the way this closure works is you'll take the loop side, the small 1-inch loop, and that will be placed underneath the button, which you might have to massage it a little bit, and that'll stay there permanently. That's pretty much going to hang there even when the book is open. Then you'll take the end with the knot, and to close it, that'll wrap around the button, keeping the whole project closed. So now that our pockets are dry, you can grab your wallet insert, your clear insert for your ATCs, and each of these clear plastic flaps will be tucked into those pockets we glued down. So just slide one into one pocket and get that tucked all the way into the inside. Then you'll take the second flap and tuck it into the next pocket. And you can see now you can open and flip through all of the wallet insert pages. Again, to close it up, you just fold it closed and extend that elastic for a really cute closure. So let's take a look at the one we did in the workshop. I've kind of embellished it and I've added my own ATCs. So here you can see the wallet opens up and you can add ATCs to the pockets. Maybe you don't know what ATCs are, but they're artist trading cards. They're little pieces of artwork that folks trade, and they measure 2.5 by 3.5. Now, because this is a wallet insert, this will also hold wallet-sized photos. So let's take a look at some of the variations that are available in the online store. We have one with a really cute little clock button in the red. And you can see here that we've added wallet-sized photos or smaller photos to create like a little mini scrapbook. This one is a travel-themed button with a beautiful purple cardstock. And you can see here Kay has created a mini album inside, adding all sorts of smaller embellishments, stamping, and small photos. And finally, this really cute one with the flower button. This, I think, is my favorite. I just love that button. And you can see here a variety of photos and embellishments on the inside. Again, I'm Karen Weingart. I hope you enjoyed this project. Thank you for joining me today. And by the way, what's in your wallet?